I surrender to the Almighty my mind, speech and body. Vanakkam. We are reading the book called Thirukkural, written by Thiruvallur. This is one of the important books left behind by our Tamil ancestors, and it carries useful information for our life, which our ancestors wanted to pass on to the future generations. We are following the commentaries given by an equally respected scholar called Parimel Alagar. We have entered the Arathu Paal, which is the first big section of the book. The first chapter is called as Kadavul, Vaazhthu, which talks about God and the different ways of approaching Him. The first Kural said that God is fundamental to creation, just as how the sound A is fundamental to the creation of all languages. The second Kural showed us the purpose of our education. Whatever be our area of study, whether it is arts or science or literature, this Kural showed how the goal of our education is to reach God. In the third and the fourth Kurals, Vallur showed us how to reach God using our mind. In the fifth Kural, Vallur told us how to use our speech to attain Veedu. Today we will enter the sixth Kural. The sixth Kural goes like this. Pori vayil, ainthavithan, poitheer, ozhukka, neri, needu, vaazhvar. The overall meaning of this Kural is, if we live according to the principles shown by the one who has gone beyond the desires of the five senses, then we too can reach Veedu. So here, Vallur is going to tell us about how to reach God through worship using our body. Now that's quite interesting, isn't it? How to use this body to reach Veedu. You see, we all identify ourselves with our body, right? When I say I am Mohana, I am referring to this body. In your mind, my name will bring up an image of this body. So we operate our lives using this body. So Vallur is going to show us how to operate using this body so that we can reach the Almighty, which is a space of endless bliss, what we call as mukti or moksha. Now let's see how we are using this body in our daily lives. We see that in this body we have 5 instruments for getting inputs from our surroundings. These instruments are our eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Only by using these 5 sense organs, we are able to get the input from the world and we are able to experience our lives. These sense organs or the instruments of input are also called as Gyanendriyas. So we get the smell input from our nose, the taste input through our tongue, the sight input through our eyes, touch input through our skin and sound inputs from the ears. We will not be able to use this body to perceive the world around us without these Gyanendriyas, right? Imagine if we did not have any of our sense organs, how will we experience the world around us if we can't see, hear, smell, taste or feel anything around us? We can't have any experience, right? So we get the input from these 5 Gyanendriyas and that is how we experience the life in this earth. Now, even though we receive input in the 5 different ways, the final experiencer of these inputs is only one. That is what we call as the vayil or the atma or the intelligence inside us. What does this receiver do? After receiving the input from these instruments, the vayil or the intelligence in us classifies the input as good or bad, and that is what we experience as likes and dislikes. For example, when we smell good food or hear good music, we like that experience. When someone compliments us, we feel good and we like that experience. And when someone says something hurtful, we feel bad and we dislike that experience. So that's how our sense organs make us to interact with the world. Now, after classifying the experiences as good and bad, we want to increase the good experiences and avoid the bad ones. The problems come when in this effort we enter into incorrect understandings and enter into all kinds of wrong behavior patterns, and as a result we end up getting stuck in our cravings and rejections. For example, let us say that I like the physical sensation of being consoled by my loved ones. Whenever I am feeling down and my loved ones comfort me, it makes me feel loved and cared for. Nothing wrong with that. But now what I do is, in order to increase that sensation of comfort, I decide that it is best strategy in my life to always put myself in a position of pity. Therefore, I will get a lot of comfort. What an incorrect understanding that is. Imagine the kind of life I would have if attracting pity is the underlying goal. Will I ever get anything other than pity? What a pitiable life I would have, right? Would I ever be happy? No, I wouldn't. But that is how we tend to get caught in our senses, by entering the incorrect understandings without even being aware of being caught in the senses. The root cause of all of this is we get stuck in the senses. They say that only when we learn to be unaffected by the good and the bad experiences of the senses can we be truly happy and peaceful. Now, what does that even mean? Does that mean that we have to suppress our likes and dislikes and be numb and unresponsive to all the events? No, certainly not. The fundamental teachings of Thirukkural itself is to immerse in the attachments of our married life in the right way and derive the maximum benefit, not to avoid pleasures. In fact, Thirukkural goes to the extent of saying that only when a person has truly experienced such a married life can he or she be able to let go of the attachments peacefully. So, rejection of the sensual inputs is not the answer. That will only make us numb and we will hate ourselves even more. No, getting into an experience, living it truly, the way we want it and letting it go smoothly is the best way to go about it. So, how do we live like that? Vallivar says that when we hold on to the principles of someone who has already achieved that state of being unaffected by the senses, then we too can reach that state. But that person should be such that he or she should always remain unaffected. So we have to find someone who is by their very nature unaffected by the senses. So then a question may arise. Can we hold on to some of the principles of the saints or sages of the past? Well, there is a risk in that. Not all of them were successful always. Some of the very powerful sages reached that stage and then they fell prey to their senses again. At the end of the Arathu Paal, Vallivar talks about this point in more detail. So then who else is there to follow, right? We need someone who by their innate nature does not fall prey to their senses. Now, we attribute all of the highest qualities known to humans to God. So this quality is also understood as a quality of God. We say that God does not get caught in the senses. He always remains unaffected by the senses. Therefore, if we follow Him, then we can also become like Him. That is, we can also go beyond the senses and remain unaffected, says Parimel. Now, let us keep this idea on one side. Let us ask ourselves, what is this thing called aram? This so-called aram, dharmam. I said that aram is the term that refers to the order in nature. Who created that? Whose ideas are these? Thiruvalluvar wrote this book to guide our married life. Does that mean that aram ideas for the married life were created by him? The answer to that is no. The principle of aram are universal. The order in nature. None of the human beings created these. Nature has these principles buried in its working. The saints and the scholars who we call as Nyanis, they had a very sharp mind and they were able to identify the aram in nature. But who are these Nyanis? Are they a special group of people who undergo some kind of special training? No. It is said that these are very old uyir or very old souls who have taken birth several times in this earth, and therefore they are able to understand the underlying fundamental workings of life. They were able to identify the order or the aram hidden in nature, and what they did was they made it available for other souls to understand and work towards liberation. It is not possible for ordinary minds like mine to understand the workings of nature just by observing nature. But for a very sharp mind like that of a Jnani, these things are easily understood. For example, never speak lies is a good aram to follow in life. I hope we agree on that. How do we know that? Because liars and crooks cannot have a sustained good life. That is why we say that lying is not an aram. Somewhere in life the thief and the liar takes a beating. How do we know that? We know that from the history of people who have lived before us. It seems to be the rule of nature. If it were indeed true that liars and thieves always lived a fantastic life, then Aram would tell us that we should all start lying and thieving, as it will always lead to our betterment. And we should teach our kids to cheat and lie. We should keep schools and teach them how to cheat and how to lie. As I speak this, many of us will have a person in the mind to prove us that thieves and cheats are living a great life. I believe it is not possible for us to decide whether those people are happy and peaceful. Only that person can truly answer whether they are at peace or not. We can only see the rich and the big houses and the fancy cars, so we tend to assume that they are all at peace. Peace and happiness does not lie in fancy cars and big houses. Happiness resides in our manam. So only each person can decide for themselves whether they are truly happy and peaceful. We can say for sure that thieves and liars and crooks and someone who is out to destroy the lives of others, they have not lived a peaceful and a happy life always. This truth has been seen time and again over a long period of time. Repeatedly, the same message is seen. That is why the text of Aram teaches us that the truth will always win. That seems to be the way of nature. So, where did this Aram come from? The answer to that is it comes from nature. And the Nyanis had the ability to observe the Aram from nature, and they gave it to the rest of the humans. The very first expression of such teachings of Aram is what we call as Vedas. Veda or Vedam is a term that refers to not only the Hindu book of Vedas. Every religion has a set of teachings handed to them from a very wise and noble person or a Jnani. And all of these religious teachings are called as Vedas. All the higher secrets of the workings of life are called as Vedas. From the Vedas we have the Upanishads, and then from them we have the Dharma Shastras, and then from those Shastras we have the books like Thirukkural that we are reading now. So even for our Thirukkural, the foundation is the Vedas. So who is the owner of Aram? No, it's not Thiruvalluvar. He is not the owner of these ideas. The one who placed these Aram in nature, he is the owner of Aram, and we call that entity as God. So now coming back to the Kural, Parimaladaga says, God, who is the owner of Aram, has a quality of being unaffected by the senses. Therefore, if we follow his teachings, then we too shall be like him, that is, unaffected by our senses. God's teachings are what I just now explained as the Vedas, and Thirukkural also comes under that category. So that is what this Kural is trying to tell us. This Kural is showing us a way to reach Veedu or Mukti by using our body to live this life. Remaining unaffected by our senses will lead to Godhood. To get there, we simply have to follow the instructions given by God himself. And where has God left these instructions? They are hidden in nature. And these can be identified by people called Nyanis, and they have given it to us in the form of Vedas and all the books that are derived from the Vedas. Pori vayil, ainthavithan, poitheer, ozhukka, neri, nindaar, needu, vaazhvar. If we follow the principles of life shown by the one who has gone beyond the influence of the five senses, we too can reach Veedu. And that is a summary of this Kural. I hope that made some sense. Now, whenever we are saying some important idea, it is well stressed if it is given as a straightforward instruction and as an opposite consequential instruction. For example, if I tell my child, if you study well, you will score good grades. If you waste your time, then you will fail in your exam. Both these instructions are saying the same thing. The first one is a straightforward instruction, and the second one says the same message as a consequence of failure of the instruction. When we use both these type of instructions, the message will reach deeper. In the Kurals so far, Valluvar explained the ways to reach Veedu using worship of the mind, body and speech. The basic message of this chapter is over. But Valluvar is still not satisfied. What if the readers still don't understand the purpose of worship? So he has to tell us the consequences of the failure of worship. So he will tell us about those things in the remaining Kurals and we will see them in the next session. Thank you all for listening. Nandri Vanakkam.